This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Brandon Andrus Green.
Welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast Live. Today I have the privilege of introducing John Michael Lander. John Michael is a former elite competitive diver. He later became an author, speaker, survivor advocate, educator, and coach, among many other things. His work today focuses heavily on grooming prevention, survivor advocacy, and helping people understand how abuse can hide inside trusted systems. John Michael, welcome to the show.
Brandon, thank you so much. That intro is quite amazing, mister.
I've been doing my homework.
That, and I also like your intro to the videos to come in.
A little jazzy, a little snappy. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So I would love to hear kind of your origin story, because you were competing at a very high level at a young age. And what did that world look like for you back then? And then really, at what point did you begin to understand what was happening to you and kind of what was not so normal?
Well, I'm not quite sure if I can answer that answer directly the way you might like it. So play with me with a little bit here. I was 14 when I started elite athletes. I took 8th at the Junior Olympics, which was kind of a big deal at the time. And there were articles about me that were sent out. And a lawyer from Ohio read the article and decided to contact my team. And so he contacted my team and he presented them this incredible opportunity. Now, this system that I'm talking about is what I call the predatory grooming trifecta, where the predator will groom the organization or the institution first, then they will groom the parent or the guardian, and I'll explain a little bit about that. And then, and only then, when they have the first two in place, do they ever come after the child.
Wow.
Okay. So again, you got to keep in mind that as elite athletes, we are in a small bubble. You know, as grassroots sports start when we're younger, it's larger. And then as you get further and further up, it gets very small. So, and so they have their own jargon. Each sport has their own jargons, the way they do things and everything that's kind of normalized. And that's something I want to make sure that we understand, because that's what they build on. That's what predators use. And so what they did is this lawyer basically contacted my team, got their side, said, hey, look, I have these professional men who would like to sponsor athletes. We want to give you new suits, new warm-ups. We'll put in new diving equipment, and we'll even bring in a new coach. And all you guys have to do is just let us be sponsors for your team.
Wow.
So the team was like, okay. And you got to understand, this was a YMCA in a very small town. And so they said, you're going to do all this for us? They said, yes, we saw this one athlete that you have that's on the team, and we want to really support him to get to the Olympics.
Wow.
And so, of course, the lawyer offers them a contract.
Of course.
They sign it, right?
Of course.
They are now protecting these people. Okay, which is what we also saw in U.S. gymnastics with that doctor there. So then after they've got that situation set up, then he got information from the board about my mother and where to meet her and what is she doing, what is she like, and then he started meeting her over a period of a month or two, taking her to dinner, having lunch, meeting with her, and saying that we can help. What you and your husband have done is incredible, but you can't get him to the next level. We can do that for you. And what is even more interesting, all the professionals will offer your family free whatever their profession is. So if you need glasses, the whole family will get free glasses. If you need medicine, we'll get you medicine. And at that time, my youngest sister had a sledding accident and needed reconstructive surgery on her chin. Everything was going to be paid for by the professionals. Now, they said all she had to do was make sure that I was at the right place at the right time and wearing the right outfit that they wanted me to wear. She thought she was helping me. So she said, sure. So they also warned her that if, for whatever reason, I didn't keep the professionals happy, they would come back and sue my parents for all the money that was donated pro bono to them. And they would have to pay all that back, and they would take the kids and put them in foster care. Take the kids
my goodness.
So she was like, "Oh, that's never going to happen, right?" Which is
Right.
ironic because my parents were foster parents for lots of children. So she
Yeah.
goes, "Oh, no." So she signed a contract. And then, and only then, did he come and speak with me and tell me about all the same things. And all I had to do I can even talk now. All I had to do for him was to make sure that I had my grades were up. I did really well in competitions and I made the professionals happy. That's how he said it to me. I didn't know what that meant at the time. I was 14. So I said, "Oh, if mom and dad said it was okay, it must be a
Sure.
good thing." So I signed the contract. That's how it all
Of course.
happened.
But it seems like almost inevitable because it's like if those opportunities come, how does the YMCA even know to say no to it? How does your mom even know to say no to it? How do you even know to say no to it? And then it begs the question, was this intentional? Was this happening to multiple people? Like, was it a scheme from the get-go, or was it a lack of self-control? It was this something that was an actual system that he used and that you found that other people are using? I mean, this is there's so much here. Can you
Right.
help fellow parents, fellow business owners, fellow coaches help us understand what's even doing these scenarios?
Well, I think you just need to really look and see if is this really too good to be true? And listen to your
Right.
gut instincts to find that out. No one really asked what was it in for these kids? Well, what are you doing with them? Where are they going? What's happening? They never
Oh,
checked that
yeah.
out. And here's the caveat of the whole thing
The
is
why.
is that this lawyer was not interested in any other child on the team. That was his way to get in to the
Mm,
organization. They were
mm.
focusing on me. Now, they had been doing this for quite a long time, and they were actually helping college students, male college students, and their whole idea was to give them money for tuition, for school, whatever they needed, and they would take these boys and they would pass them around. If Ohio State ever went to any college bowl, like the Rose Bowl or the Gator Bowl, we went,
Right.
and it was part of the whole thing. And then when we would get there, they would put us up in the VIP section, and that's where they would decide and auction us off to other people within that box. So while everybody was looking for trafficking outside the arena, we were in the VIP sections, and no one was looking up there. And that's the other thing I really want to shout out to everybody is that these predators are so calculated and so good because they're professionals that they have already started their planning for the 2028 Olympics right now. They're buying those VIP boxes. They're getting the hotel rooms. They have it all above board, and it looks like just all these wealthy men coming together and supporting the Olympics and everything else. No one is even questioning them.
So what do we do? Because I already find myself suspicious often, but even with that suspicion, what are those next steps?
Well, I think it's actually listening to the athletes. And one of the things that I was taught as I was competing, like I said, everything was normalized. I was constantly told that if I didn't like the way things are going, there are 5 other athletes behind me that could take my place. We saw that with US gymnastics as well. If the girls did not like what was happening, we can pull you out, put somebody else in. And as we saw, as the whole Nasser thing started to open up, one of the gymnasts who was a front person, athlete A, came up and started talking about it, and her parents got behind her and they were moving forward. She placed 4th at the Olympic trials and was not named to the team
Hmm.
because they removed her. And so she never got to even go to the Olympics. And that's what happens. That's that, aspect of having this power that we could use it at any time we want, and they let you know it. And
Right.
so here we are. This is our opportunity to represent our country. This is our opportunity to get college scholarships. And we're told that this is normal. I was told that this is what every elite athlete went through who ever got to go to the Olympics. So who was I supposed to question?
Right.
What did it feel uncomfortable? Yes. Did I try to find people to tell? Yes. But again, I signed a contract which said I wasn't allowed to tell anyone. But I thought if I could get an adult to ask me questions, because I had to respect my adult people, then I was okay. Then I can talk about it because they came and asked me, not me going to them. And that's the power that they play. And the way to look for it is just watch body language, because if you're a parent, you have a sixth sense,
Right.
and if you have a male, especially males, because they're harder to pinpoint than they are with girls. Boys sometimes will get more aggressive. They will do, I went the other way. I became more complacent. I became the good boy. I became like the A student. I went outside the other side. I didn't get violent. I didn't do anything like that because that could cause problems. And I was afraid of that. So I went the other way. Top of my school, top of this, top of that. Then nobody would ask questions. But inside, I was hoping somebody did. And I remember talking to a couple of teachers. I did indicators while I was at school. I would wear the same clothes for a week, and I was a kid, never liked to wear dirty clothes. I'd change before the next class, and no one asked me. I decided that I wouldn't shower for a week and still wore those clothes. No one said a thing. And then I finally decided to drop the F-bomb, and I was one of those kids that when I cussed, everyone laughed because just
yeah. So yeah.
And so no one asked me. And I talked to a teacher a couple of years ago, and she said, "I'm so sorry. I had no idea. We thought you were just under a lot of pressure, and that was your way of just blowing off steam." So, it's just the way it is. But listening and watching your child, because my parents would bring these professionals home to our dinner with us. And I was sitting next to the person who was abusing me, and my parents couldn't tell that I wasn't eating my food. My parents couldn't tell that I wasn't uncomfortable. I have a hard time believing that they didn't notice those things.
And what are some of those questions you wished someone would have asked you when you were young?
What's going on? That's the first question I wish somebody would have asked me. What is going on? Now, my coach did ask me that, but my coach was part of the problem. My coach was placed in there by these professional men, and he knew the whole thing. And he was being paid to pay attention to me. And so I thought this was a really close friendship. But I would have loved to have had a teacher or even another teammate coach ask me, "Dude, are you okay? What's going on with you?" I think that would have been the opening of the whole thing. I think I could have started telling people then. But again, my mother didn't believe me, so why would anybody else?
Right. And then who do you even tell?
Right. And how can we tell? I know that we were very church going. We went to church all the time. And for some reason, they found out I was not allowed to go to church anymore. No one asked me why. My mother and father, they got a message, he can't come to church anymore with us.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I was like, what? I don't get it. So those are kind of things like that happened a lot, and it didn't make sense. So I didn't understand. But then they kept saying it's because you're going to all these competitions, you're gone for the weekend, so you don't have to go to church. They would make all these excuses up for me. And it was just not true. I was not happy. Although I still kept winning medals for them, for the U.S. So I was confused. Yeah.
And again, part of that coping strategy.
I'm sorry?
Which is part of that coping strategy.
Exactly. And we weren't allowed to talk about it. And because boys could not be raped. That was the question that we were told. And this was not really sex, is what I was told. We're just getting off. So it really didn't matter because males can't have sex with males.
It's just boys being boys.
Yeah.
And so you eventually went from silence to speaking publicly. What changed for you?
I was a teacher at a high school for the arts, and a young 16-year-old boy came in and told me that he had a boyfriend. And I was like, so, okay, whatever. He told me that he was 35. That's when the things started to go off. And I started getting understanding, wait a minute, I'm talking to myself. And I reported it, and the principal told me that there was nothing that they could do because the mother and the grandmother supported this, that this man was buying all the groceries and paying the bills. And I said, that's not fair. I can't do this. And I resigned. But it was after that when everything for me became like Pandora's box opened up, and I started
Right.
seeing myself, and I went down into that tunnel within me, you know, and realizing that what happened was not normal or good. It was all bad.
It was that turning point. It just hit too close to home.
Yeah. Yes, it did. And yeah, again, it was like I was speaking to myself, because he was at the age that I was when all this was happening for me, you know.
And since then, you have authored multiple books. I hear you're finishing up another one right now. I saw your TED Talk, which is amazing. And you're also speaking nationwide. So it seems like things have kind of, you came out of that deep, dark hole enough to publish some books, huh?
Yes, and that came out of going through a therapist. When the writing, you know, I always wrote all my life, but she started having me do those exercises. But then again, I also want to make sure that you understand that you are a pivotal person in my life that has kept me going forward. When I met you in Columbus, Ohio, you inspired me to keep going. You inspired me to keep speaking because we had that connection, we had that moment, and I went, oh my God, it does make a difference. So thank you. And every time I speak, I think, where's Brandon? Yes, hear this. And then I've been able to turn around and watch you grow and do your speaking, do your podcast, and helping so many people that you don't even know, man. I just got a letter this morning from Switzerland thanking me for sharing my story.
Wow.
You have no idea how far it reaches out. So thank you for what you're doing.
You're so welcome. You mean a lot to me, John Michael. What's one thing that you feel like our listeners should really remember? From my perspective, this is a weighty subject, and it's almost scary. As a parent, it's scary. It can feel insurmountable, but I know that's not the reality.
I would say one thing I want you to know is make sure you connect with your child. Make sure that you're watching, and if there's a feeling in your gut that something may not be right, gently start asking questions. How was school? How was practice? Anything happen? And just watch and see if the body language changes. Then as it does, start looking for places to get help, because you need to talk this out. And I truly believe that every child wants to tell someone, but they have to have a person that they feel that they can trust. And once they have that person and they can trust them, they will share. It may take a while. You have to be patient. It's not going to happen right away. And whatever you do, do not ask open-ended questions. Not ask direct, like, did something happen to you? They will, especially males, will pull back, because we're not supposed to let that happen. We're supposed to fight back. And don't forget how our society looks on people who have been abused. And I also want to say we're not broken. You're not broken. I'm not broken. What we've gone through is what we had to go through to be where we are today, and how we're helping other people. So don't look at us as victims unless we choose to be a victim, but look at us as thrivers, or we're trying to change the world through our experience.
We're marbleized. We're not broken.
I love that. I love that. You better trademark that really quick.
I better hurry. And John Michael, I'm gonna, when I get off on the make sure I text all my sons. This is hit close to home, and I appreciate you coming on and being willing to talk about something so difficult. And thank you for using your story to help and protect other people.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnptulsa.com. That's gnptulsa.com, or call 918-301-6356.